Hey everyone, welcome to the NoochieCast episode 16. Today we are recapping one thing and one thing only, the Xbox Games Showcase. It was Xbox's big blowout of games that are coming to Xbox Series X. It was their effective response to the PS5 reveal last month. They've been hyping this up for a couple months now. It's, I think, most of what would have been shown at E3 from their first-party studios and their second-party games. So no news or anything, just this, because I think there's a lot to talk about, and I want to recap it, and I want to go through my thoughts, and I want to go through what was good, what wasn't, how it compared to Sony's, things like that. In just general thoughts about it, just big overarching takeaways, I thought it was a good conference, not necessarily an outstanding conference. But I'm not sure exactly what they were going for. Obviously, they want every conference to be a great conference, but they clearly weren't there with all of their big guns. They didn't pull a Sony in 2016 where they just said, here's everything in our portfolio we have, and like here's studio after studio, because they didn't show the Initiative. They didn't show In Exile. They barely showed Forza. Like, they have other things that they need to show, so I'm not sure exactly what they were going for. But overall, it was a good conference. One that showed pretty much everything we needed to, or we wanted to show, we wanted to hear about, everything we expected. We knew, obviously, about Halo. They had been talking about that for weeks, basically, since the last Inside Xbox where they talked about anything. We got 10 minutes of that. Then they showed Forza, which we assumed. They showed Fable, which we had pretty much assumed we had heard about. Then there are a couple other surprises, but more or less it was everything we expected. Not too many surprises. Nothing really over the top. I thought it was a little weird that they ended with Fable, because that was literally their one more thing, where they said, oh, we're done with everything, but here's one more thing. And then they come out with what should be a hard-hitting punch that surprises everyone. And Fable would be that normally, but with all of the leaks, this has been rumored for upwards of a year at this point, and it's not really that surprising that Playground is making a Fable remake or reboot, I guess. We don't really know anything, but it was kind of weird that they put that last, because you'd think that they would really be trying to hit you with that punch that you weren't expecting. Just overall, I thought most things they showed looked really good. There were maybe a couple duds here or there that didn't really interest me, but that's going to happen in every conference. The problem is that there wasn't really that game. There wasn't a game that stood out to me as, that's the game I want right now. That's the system seller. That's the game that I'm really looking forward to in the future that I'm associating with Xbox. And Xbox hasn't really had that for a while. It's been Halo forever, but Halo, at least for me, was kind of something. I didn't play any of the Halos until 2 or 3 years ago. I played them all in sequence, 1 through 5, like in 4 or 5 weeks. And they were great, and I really enjoyed them, but Halo doesn't have that kind of nostalgia, childhood, like growing up factor for me. Whereas something like Uncharted on PlayStation side does. So there isn't really that game right now where I'm saying that's the game I want on Xbox. Though there are a lot of games that I like. And lastly, just overall, there really wasn't that much gameplay. I know a lot of people are criticizing the conference for it. There wasn't a lot of gameplay. There wasn't that much gameplay on Sony's thing either. I think we're kind of like twisting history at this point. Like Spider-Man didn't show any gameplay. Horizon didn't show any gameplay. Ratchet did, and Gran Turismo did. Those were the two like big showcases of gameplay that were really good. This one, obviously Halo showed like 15-20% of the show was Halo gameplay. But there wasn't really that much else, if anything, that I can think of. So it would have been nice to see more gameplay from at least one or two other games. But I do just want to get into the list of the games that they showed, just in order, and what I thought. There was a pre-show where they showed, I think it was 6 or 7 world premieres. Nothing really stood out to me. Watch Dogs still looks good. Hello Stranger 2 was announced. I remember playing Hello Stranger 1 and just being confused and it not really clicking with me. And then there was a game, it was like Doggin Underworld, or I'm just fucking that name up, but some action platformer. Looked fine. Looked, like almost like Super Lucky's Tale in a way, like a 3D action platformer that is trying to bring old school platformers into now, but like kind of will work, but kind of won't. I don't know. Didn't really speak to me. Getting into the actual show though, obviously, what we expected, we knew it for 10 minutes. There's Halo Infinite gameplay. They started it and they basically just showed a demo. Not basically, they literally went to the title screen and said start demo. So they really weren't trying to be coy about that. It was just straight up. Just off the bat, one of the things that it's really being criticized for is the graphics. And I will say that I didn't love the graphics. Like, I didn't think it looked, I thought that looked like a game that could be rendered on a PS4 or an Xbox One. Like, but the way that people are talking about it is like, this game looks like a PS2 game, and like it looks like shit, and I can't believe that they would try to pawn this off as some Xbox Series X system seller. Like, sure, the face of the pilot wasn't like the most detailed photorealistic thing I've ever seen, but it looked really good, and like the lighting was really cool, and especially the draw distance was awesome. Like if you looked in, there was a scene where Master Chief was riding up an elevator. You could see the entire world. I thought that looked really cool. With that being said, it definitely, both in graphics and in gameplay, kind of evoked Halo 1, and I was a little confused at why it looked so much like Halo 1. Gameplay wise, I get it for sure, but graphics wise, I was like this is a little regressive. On the gameplay front though, I thought it looked really fun. Like I said, Halo doesn't have that like nostalgia factor for me, but I do think the games are really fun, and I thought the gameplay was just more Halo with a grappling hook now, and with, an open world. I think the way they're talking about it is that it's basically going to be a living world, not like basically up to the line of what a games as a service genre is, where they're going to be updating it, and there will be consistent patches and new missions and new stories that they're going to tell. It's effectively an open world where you can do missions in any order, and you have a map, and you can go around and do this and do that. It's basically what I think Halo needed to be, because you can't just put out another Halo campaign and make it this system seller, because Halo 4 and 5 did that and it didn't really work. So you needed to make it some larger experience, something where that people are going to get it and play it for a while, hopefully. And even just outside of multiplayer, in single player, they're going to get it. They're going to be going around. They're going to want new stories to be told. And I think they're basically saying that that's what's going to happen. Like, they're not going to make Halo 7 right now, or anytime soon. They're basically just going to be supporting Infinite from here on out for the foreseeable future. So all in all, I thought it looked really good. I'm excited for it. I will definitely play it, if only because it's on Game Pass. But like, didn't knock my socks off just because it didn't, like, Halo doesn't speak to me like that. After that, like 10-minute demo, there was State of Decay 3. Kind of out of nowhere, I'm pretty sure. State of Decay 2 came out last year. Might have been 2 years ago. I'm not sure exactly, but they're just like, hey, State of Decay 3, which, cool. Another zombie game. I think it's weird that Xbox is so deep into the State of Decay franchise and they're not, and Undead Labs is still making this series where I don't know how much else they can do. It's just it's an open world zombie thing, survival. Like, I would have liked to see them do something different, but if they can make it different and innovative and everything, and utilize new technology, then good for them. They said it was early pre-production. Again, I don't know why they revealed it this early, if that's true, but cool reveal. Didn't really speak to me. Not necessarily that I wouldn't play it, but just kind of weird that they revealed it so early. Next was Forza, in the Forza Motorsport, not Forza Horizon. So this is turn 10's linear, like, racing sim game, not open world. This looked gorgeous. This is the game, as always, where this seems like it's showcasing the graphical power of the platform, where everything looked gorgeous, lighting is amazing, textures are amazing, just everything was like, there were points where I wasn't sure if I was watching a live action video or a game, and that was really cool. This also seemed like early pre-production. I think that's what Phil Spencer said. Weird. I would think Forza Motorsport hasn't had a game come out since 2017, I don't think. So it's a little weird to me that is going to take so long. It seemed like they were talking about it like it's definitely not coming out this year. Like, they were talking about it like it might not come out next year, which is surprising to me. Kind of makes me wonder what the state of the Forza franchise is at this point. What's the next Horizon going to be? What is this Forza going to be? I think they're talking about it again, kind of like Halo Infinite, in that it's a platform where they don't have a number on it, so it's just Forza Motorsport. It's just, here's the game. Here's like a bunch of tracks. We're just going to keep adding tracks, keep adding cars. We just want you to play it forever. And that's cool. I love Forza. I would definitely play that. I just hope that it comes out at some point in the next year and a half, because it's been so long and I'm kind of itching to play another Forza. The one after that was Everwild. Again, similar idea. This is from Rare. It looks like another platform. I wasn't really sure what it was. I know they've announced it before this, but like, I didn't know exactly what the game of it's going to be exactly. But it sounds like they're making it a really stylized, open world, living world, set in like the wild, the woods. But it seems like here's this world, like Sea of Thieves is right now, because I assume that's kind of the direction that Rare is going, where they're saying, here's just an area, here's a world, you can go in it, we're going to continue to add new updates, add new things to do, add new places. Hopefully people play it for a long time. And you can start to see a pattern here. Halo Infinite, Forza, Everwild. We don't even know about State of Decay 3. That could be the same thing, where all of these games are just platforms. They're not making Halo Infinite 2, Forza Motorsport 2, or whatever, Everwild 2. It's just, you are going, like, Halo Infinite is here. You are just going to go play it forever. That's the game. And I think this is starting to get to the Game Pass thing, where they don't have an incentive to go spend another $200 million on a Halo 7. Instead, they have an incentive to put all this budget into Halo Infinite and continue to update it, because the more people that subscribe to Game Pass will continue to play Halo Infinite. And it's a lot more financially feasible for them to continue to update Halo Infinite rather than try to get another game in there, because that other game isn't going to get that many more subscribers compared to how many subscribers are just going to come in for Halo Infinite and stay, or just continue to stay because they want to play Halo Infinite over and over and over again. Same thing with Forza, same thing with Everwild. After this, though, we kind of completely switch gears and go to Tell Me Why, which I think looks really cool. I'm excited for this. Don't Nods. It looks, I don't know if it's in the Life is Strange universe. I understand that it's the same art style. It just looks like a Life is Strange game. But I think it looks really cool. I'm excited for it. I like Life is Strange. I don't think I ever played Life is Strange 2, but I really enjoyed this kind of game, just in general, with Telltale and with Don't Nod. So I think it'll be something to play. Obviously, it's on Game Pass, so might as well. And it's coming out soon. It's coming out in September. So, why not? Next was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Basically just saying, hey, it's coming to Xbox Series X, obviously, and saying, like, it'll be at 120 FPS, which is really cool, a lot more fluid. They did a little demo on it. Awesome. Not surprising. Then they went into Obsidian. Honestly, at this point, I would call Obsidian their kind of crown jewel first-party studio. That and The Initiative, or The Initiative hasn't said anything, but those two are the ones that I'm expecting to make the biggest AAA games that we don't know about already, because 343 is making Halo and the Coalition's making Gears. Obsidian is just, they do their thing, and all their games are really good and really big. They first announced DLC for The Outer Worlds, which at first surprised me because I didn't realize that The Outer Worlds came out 9 months ago, 10 months ago. It just shows you how the world has taken over. But yeah, that DLC is coming out. I don't know if they said the DLC would be on Game Pass. Obviously, The Outer Worlds is. That is just, looks cool. Outer Worlds is fun. More Outer Worlds. Then Grounded. Nothing like anything that they've ever made. Well, first, I really liked the shout out to Cyberpunk, which surprised me. If you were to say that Xbox was going to have a shout out to Cyberpunk in their show, this is not in a million years how I would have guessed it was going to happen. Grounded still looks fun. It's it's just a survival game. It feels like it's just Obsidian being like, we have money now, let's do something for fun. Fuck it, here's a survival game that's not an RPG, But after that, they showed Avowed, which basically looked like their next RPG that is, it is to Elder Scrolls what The Outer Worlds is to Fallout, at least in the glimpse of gameplay that we got, which I'm fine with. The Outer Worlds is, in my opinion, probably better than Fallout 4. So if they can make something that's better than Skyrim, I'm fully on board. I am a little confused why they announced that. If that game seems like it's not going to come out for a while, it seems fittingly kind of like the announcement that Bethesda made for the Elder Scrolls 6, or even for Starfield. This game seems like it's far away. This game probably isn't going to come out for 3 years. I'd be surprised if that game is out by 2022. I would love to see it. I could be wrong, but it just seems like they're probably in early pre-production for it. So 2022 at the earliest, I'd say. But it looked cool. I enjoyed watching it. Hopefully it comes out sooner than that. After that, they went into kind of a weird demo documentary of the I forget what the name of the studio was called, but it was of a new game called As Dusk Falls, which it was almost like a picture-based story, interactive story, where it was just like there was no real motion. It was just picture to picture, with characters going from one pose to another. But there was like beautifully beautifully like drawn and animated, kind of like a visual novel in a way, but like a little more motion heavy. I thought it looked cool. I really liked this. I really don't know what it is or what it's about, but I thought it looked cool, really piqued my interest. And I think this and Tell Me Why is kind of Xbox's way of like filling the bucket of the interactive story, the like really story heavy games that they want on Game Pass, so they can kind of cover their ground in terms of genres. You can kind of see that throughout, where here's Halo, like our first person shooter, here's State of Decay, our zombie game, here's Grounded, our survival game, here's Avowed and The Outer Worlds, our RPGs, Forza's our racing game, Everwild's our Rare game, and Tell Me Why and As Dusk Falls are our story-based games, where like if you just want a story and that's it, here's what you get. Next was Hellblade 2. I don't know why it was here. I don't know why they showed it. It's obvious that this game is still a ways away. They didn't show anything new from it. They basically just showed the trailer they gave it at the Game Awards like 8 months ago, and then they said, here's like a location diary, dev diary. I think they just showed it because they thought it had to be there. I didn't really care. I know this. I understand that this game's still a while away. It just seemed kind of shoehorned in there. Maybe it was they're just trying to keep reminding people that it exists. Didn't really matter. Next was Psychonauts 2. Looks cool. They announced that they delayed it to next year, which is fine. Probably early next year, like first half of next year-ish. Looks fun. They had a cool trailer with Jack Black in it, because he's in the game and he was singing. I just think, it's a Double Fine game. It's not particularly innovative in the gameplay front, but it's going to be really lighthearted and really fun and really Psychonauts-y. And that, that's fun. Next was Destiny 2, which basically they said is coming to Game Pass, which is big. Another thing where they're making a platform. Here's Destiny 2. You're going to want to keep playing it, and you have to keep subscribing to Game Pass to get it. So that's what they're doing. And here's, you get all the DLCs that have come up to it, and the one that's coming out in November when it comes out, if you subscribe to Game Pass. But, yeah, it's going to be on Game Pass. It'll be there forever. Probably not forever, but you know what I mean. And keep subscribing, keep giving us money, and you can keep playing it. After this, they had a big series of console launch exclusives, which I hate that phrase. I hate it. I get triggered because of Rise of the Tomb Raider. It makes me uncomfortable because I don't know what they ever mean. I think what they mean is this game will be on Xbox, but not on PlayStation for a while. So they started with Stalker 2. I'll be honest, I didn't know what that game was. Someone more knowledgeable than me would know what it is. It looked fine. I honestly saw the trailer and immediately, for the first 2 separate shots, said this is the playground scene from Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare, because it looked exactly the same, where you have to get picked up in the helicopter. It was a direct recreation. I'm telling you, that's what it was. Other than that, I don't really remember anything from it, so didn't matter. Next was Warhammer 40k Darktide. Pretty humorous. There were some jokes thrown around. Again, it's probably just going to be another Warhammer 40k third-person shooter. Do your thing. Go for it. Seems fun. Going to be on Game Pass. Whatever. Next was a big one. Tetris Effect Connected. Tetris Effect is one of those games that I wanted to play in VR, but I don't have a VR headset, so I didn't. And now it's going to be on Game Pass, and it's going to have multiplayer, and I'm actually going to play it this time. So that's good, and I'm really excited for that. Next was the Gunk, which I also didn't really understand. I know it said it was from the creators of SteamWorld, but it didn't show anything to me. Cool little quirky art style. I actually thought it was some like Journey to the Savage Planet 2 or something. In the like its art style and everything, but it wasn't. Next is when we get to a big one, The Medium from Bloober Team. I love this game. I know I haven't played it, and I know Bloober Team doesn't have like the greatest track record. Blair Witch was fine. Layers of Fear was fine. Like they're like riding the middle of the pack, but this game looks like it could be that step up. It gave me really real like Control vibes, like the game Control, just in terms of the protagonist and the being able to control like a supernatural element of it. The dual reality thing is really, really cool. It's like there were a couple scenes in, I want to say, Dishonored 2 and Titanfall 2, where you could like switch back and forth between two realities. I think it was time traveling in those, but you kind of know what I mean, where it was you could be in one reality and then switch over to the other immediately to solve puzzles and to find ways forward. It's kind of looked like that, but a game. Like that, but a full game. And I think it looks awesome. It looks super terrifying and clever. I wish we had seen the gameplay that they uploaded on YouTube afterwards during the conference, because that would have been really cool, and it looked a lot more interesting after I watched the gameplay. But, you know, what are you going to do about it? But yeah, that's one of those games that I think could be kind of a like a staple of Game Pass, especially now that Bloober Team has kind of sold everything to Game Pass because Blair Witch was on it too. I think that's one of those games that I think could be on Game Pass, and if it's good, could really be something to sell Game Pass for sure, as like a different type of like, this is our horror game now, to add into the genre buckets. Next was Phantasy Star Online 2. Again, I don't really know much about it. I'm just going to kind of skip over it. I know people enjoy it. Whatever. Next was Crossfire X. This one, I still don't really understand what it is. I know it's big in Korea, I want to say. A lot of people play it. And now they're adding a story campaign to it. Although I'm pretty sure it said that the story campaign was not included in Game Pass, which is kind of shady. But the story campaign is being made by Remedy. That just like, they just glossed over that. Like, Remedy is a huge developer. Why did they not make that a thing? I saw Remedy and I'm like, what? They're making like this military shooter that like could be cool, but I was so taken aback that I didn't understand what was going on, because I still don't understand what this game really is, other than that it's a military shooter. Yeah. On a side note for that is, I had heard rumors that, maybe just speculation, that Sony was going to buy Remedy after Control, because they had that really tight relationship with Control. This squashes any rumor of that. If this is coming exclusively to Xbox, or at least exclusively for a bit, there's no way that Sony now buys Remedy, if that's the case. But I don't think any of those rumors really held any weight, but they don't anymore for sure. That was the end of the big portion of it. Then we get Matt Booty to come back and just say like, hey, we're really supporting our developers. So yeah, that was everything. And then Matt Booty's like, oh, blah, 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 one more thing. And it's Fable. Like I mentioned earlier, this I felt was not placed correctly in the show. I wish they had come out with something, and I don't know what they would have put here. I guess it was the biggest reveal, the coolest thing that they showed that wasn't already announced. I just thought it was, maybe you could have put Obsidian's game here. I don't like Avowed. I don't know. It seemed like it was such a big reveal for something we already knew, or basically knew. In terms of just the game itself, I'm really excited for it. I think just from a base level, Playground has been the most consistently good developer of the past generation since, like, for the entire Forza Horizon series. Those have been four of the best, most well-received, just like highest critically and commercially acclaimed games, like definitely on Xbox. And I would say of the generation, they're far and away my favorite racing games in the genre. And the open worlds are also really well done, especially for a racing game. I really like what it's looking like they're going to be able to do for a true open world non-racing game, especially because they brought in a bunch of people who are experienced in other non-racing open world games. So I'm excited for it. I think Playground has the pedigree to do it. I really, really, really wished they'd shown some kind of gameplay, just something to tell me what the game looks like. When's it going to come out? I know that it's probably a couple years away, a year and a half at least, next fall at the very, very, very earliest. Even though they've definitely been working on it for a while, but just the way they showed it, it's definitely not coming out until next fall at the very earliest. But I think I'm intrigued. I'm welcoming it. I'm thinking that I'm expecting it to be good because of the developer. I know the pedigree of the IP. I know people like Fable. I know it's been dormant. I know they had Fable 4 canceled. Or Fable Legends, whatever. The most recent Fable was canceled. There's a lot that could go right here, but there's a lot that could go wrong. And I think people are kind of tempered in their expectations. I'm excited for it. But I think, it could go either way. And I definitely think it was a little bit of a weird way to reveal it, especially knowing what we knew. So notes after everything we just talked about, in terms of what wasn't there, obviously, the Initiative wasn't there. In Exile wasn't there. Those were pretty obvious omissions. The Initiative for sure. I don't know what the plan for revealing the Initiative's game is, because this seemed like the place to do it. Maybe they've talked about that they're going to do other of these Xbox 2020 things in the future, over the next few months. So maybe that's where they reveal them. But it was weird that they were a little silent on it. Obviously no Coalition, no Gears. No Flight Simulator, I thought was a little weird. No Battletoads. It felt like Battletoads seems like it's in development hell. I'll say it. I think they've been really quiet about it. There's been nothing on it. We don't know when it's coming out. We barely know anything. They haven't shown much gameplay. They had one trailer last year that showed a little bit of gameplay, but they've been dead silent on it. Flight Sim, I think I'm just personally really excited for it, so that's why I'm sad about it. I know it's coming out on PC. I assumed that was because they were going to announce at this conference that it's going to be a launch title, but that doesn't seem so likely anymore. In terms of what they did show, though, it's like I was mentioning earlier, it's very clear that this is Xbox's strategy heading forward. We kind of knew in the past. We mostly knew that Xbox is a service provider at this point. They are Netflix, basically. Xbox it's the equivalent of if Netflix made TVs. So Xbox is creating a service, and their service is Game Pass Ultimate specifically, which has now Live and xCloud in it, where That's what they want you to buy. If you spend $15 a month on Xbox's system or services, then they're happy. If you want to buy their console to do it, awesome. If you want to buy this hypothetical Netflix TV, great. But they don't need you to buy it to make money, because you can play on Xbox One or Xbox One X and they would still be making money off you. And for that reason, game sales and console sales really don't matter quite as much anymore. Obviously, if you want to go buy Halo Infinite for $60, great, like that'll do it. But Xbox would make more money if you spend a year playing Halo Infinite on Game Pass than they would if you just went out and bought the game itself. In the same vein, Netflix doesn't care. I mean, they care, but it's not a huge part of their income for Netflix if you go out and buy the Stranger Things DVD or Blu-ray, because they make most of their money, the vast, vast, vast majority of their money, on the Netflix subscription, the streaming subscription. And that's where they're heading. And it's so clear that this is what Xbox is heading towards, and how the paths are diverging between PlayStation and Xbox. So sure, PlayStation is almost certainly going to sell more consoles this November, or this fall, this holiday season. But in my opinion, that is a bit of an antiquated metric, because you could say that, like, I don't know, the comparison I like to say is that you could say that almost any game is like won the generation against Fortnite because they sold more copies of that game. Like, take any flop. Take like Days Gone. I don't know if that was a flop. I don't think it was, but we're going to take it. Say it was like a medium selling game. That, if you just took game sales, that game absolutely torched Fortnite because it sold, say, 2 or 3 million copies. Fortnite hasn't sold a single copy. But Fortnite sells the subscription, basically. It's free to play. So the comparison kind of breaks down. But you catch my drift. Fortnite is a free to play game. You don't have to buy the game to get in. But they make so much more money on you buying the battle pass and buying skins, in the same way that Xbox is going to make a lot of money by selling subscriptions and having you pay $10 or $15 a month to play these games. Whereas Sony is taking the Days Gone route, where, again, this comparison kind of breaks down a little bit, but Sony is just wanting you to buy consoles and buying games. The comparison breaks down because it's not necessarily a bad or failing strategy at this point. It's just different. They're two diverging paths. Sony will almost certainly, like I said, sell more consoles this fall because they have those generational exclusives. They have the platform exclusives, and they have the consumer base of people who want to buy the platform. So that's where they're going to make a lot of money this fall. But that's not to say that Sony is inherently going to win this generation, because console sales don't matter quite as much anymore. I would say they are quickly becoming an antiquated metric. And obviously they do still matter, but not as much as all the other things combined. Because Xbox has everything you showed here on Game Pass. Every single thing they showed. So you'll have Halo Infinite, obviously, like I mentioned, will be on Game Pass. Tell Me Why will be on Game Pass. Fable will be on Game Pass. Forza, Destiny, Phantasy Star, Crossfire, everything on Game Pass. And it's for that reason that I'm hesitant to say that there was no system seller game at this conference. because when you look at PlayStation's conference, you think, here's a list of games. What game is going to make me buy the system? Or what group of games is going to make me buy the system? Because I know I'm not getting everything. I can't, at PlayStation's conference, I don't have the money to buy every single one that they showed. So I'm going to have to pick and choose. Here's 4 or 5 games that I think look really cool. I'm going to spend $500 on a system, and I'm going to buy Spider-Man and Deathloop and Horizon and Returnal, those kinds of things. Those individual games could be a system seller for you. Whereas with Xbox, I see it as none of these games hold a candle to Horizon 2. Like, I don't think anything they showed there was as good as the best PlayStation exclusives. If PlayStation were to announce The Last of Us 3, I would be all in on that. That could be a system seller for me, just that game alone. But Xbox at this point, I'm hesitant to say that there isn't one because they're all in that category. Every one of those games being on Game Pass means that a person, just take me, I'm probably going to get an Xbox Series X at launch. That will probably be the game console that I get, specifically just because I game mostly on Xbox and I don't have an Xbox One X. And so most of my backlog is on Xbox, and that's just where I'm going to go. So let's just take me here. I know that I'm looking at these two consoles and I'm saying, what games will I have to play on either of them? And what value do I have? If I look at PlayStation, I say, great, I have Horizon, I have Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. If I look at Xbox, I say every single one. Every one of those games. I know, maybe they don't all speak to me in the way that Horizon does or The Last of Us 3 theoretically does. But I know that I can play Halo and Forza and Fable and whatever, Avowed. I can play all of them. And even if none of them would be the greatest game I've ever, not even to say that not the greatest game I've ever played, but they wouldn't all immediately speak to me in the way that The Last of Us does. I know that I get to try them at least a little bit because I have them through Game Pass, and I can, hopefully one of them would speak to me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And then you throw in a game, even like a Fable, like Avowed, where those games do speak to me, and then it just becomes such a more enticing offer. So, yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on the conference itself and where they're going. I want to look at just keeping on the Sony comparison. I think in terms of a conference, when you look at this conference versus the PlayStation 5 reveal, I think in terms of a conference, the PlayStation 5 reveal was a better just through and through conference. It's hard to say for me that the games shown and the way that they presented it and everything, that the PlayStation 5 reveal conference wasn't just at least a little bit better than this, because it was tighter. They did have those kind of surprising reveals, Deathloop, Ghostwire, Spider-Man, and Ratchet, and Horizon 2. It was kind of just everything that you wanted. Plus, I just thought it was tighter. I thought this was a little weird in places, a little clunky sometimes. But that's not, I don't know. I would give the PlayStation an 8.5, and I'd give this an 8. Something in that sense. There were more, like I said, there were more immediate games. There were more games that spoke immediately to me in Sony's conference, like a Horizon, like a Spider-Man, than there were in Xbox's. But the overall, knowing that I can have every single one of those games on Game Pass is really enticing to me. And I hold that Game Pass is still the best deal in gaming. Even Game Pass Ultimate, $5 more a month is just an unbelievable deal. And then lastly, I do think I'm a little confused at why Xbox is so compartmentalized in their messaging. it's it's kind of frustrating to see, knowing, like, I like to think that I kind of have a good sense of what each company is trying to do. And I understand why Xbox is doing things the way that they are. You know, they had a couple months back, they had, this is our third party showing. And then now they're doing, this was our first party showing. Here's all the games that are exclusive to Xbox. Here's all of our first party studios and effectively the second party games. So here's everything that's coming. The problem is, I don't think that that's clear enough to consumers before things happen. It was the same problem when Sony had the PS5 like specs thing during GDC, or during what would have been GDC, where they were like, oh, come and learn more details about the PS5, and then it's just Mark Cerny talking for an hour about, like, here's what an SSD does. It's that kind of deal, but spread out over the course of time. And I know I've been complimentary of Xbox's messaging over time because it's been more spread out, but I'm starting to get to the point where I think they are being more clever about it. Not even clever. They're being more, like, I guess compartmentalized is the right word. They're putting everything in buckets. Here's our third party stuff. Here's our first party stuff. Next month or the month after that, they'll have, here's our hardware stuff. So they're going to announce Lockhart, and they're going to announce the price and the date, and maybe show a game that'll show off the console. But PlayStation has, even though they were so quiet for so long, they did last month's thing like an E3 conference. They said, here's everything. You know, here it is. Here's some first-party games, some third-party games, and here's the console. Great, we're out. Like, and we'll be back in a couple months with, you know, a couple more details. Whereas Xbox is trying to be more spread out, but I think in the way of being spread out, they get everyone's hopes up for every conference, and they continually disappoint because everyone expects every single conference to be that E3 conference when they know that every conference can't be that, because there are not logistically that many reveals that they can have. And I wish that they could have just taken what the E3 conference was supposed to be this year, because it's like, obviously they took what the E3 conference was going to be. They got shaken up very, very late in the process, and they said, fuck, we have to do something. Okay, great. Here's our first party conference. August, here's our hardware conference. And, you know, everything else, like, I don't know where we're going to put everything else, but whatever. It feels like kind of scrambled, like quickly put together in its structure, that every single conference is expected to be that E3 level, but none of them can be that. And I think it just continually sets up for disappointment, whereas Sony, that was going to be their E3 conference anyway, and they just stuck to it. And I kind of wish that the Xbox conference could have just stuck to what that E3 thing was going to be, because I've seen so much vitriol, so much clash on the internet about, oh, well, Xbox looked really good, but PlayStation was so much better, but Xbox was so much better. And it frustrates me to see, one, because why do the console wars exist? Like, just play what you want to play. But two, I think it's just a lot of people being disappointed by what they were shown because they were expecting that E3 conference when it was almost impossible for that to happen. In my opinion, that's just the way I see it. And I think most of the information, I think we definitely would have had a price by now for both consoles if E3 happened in person the way it was expected to. Probably maybe would have had a date, would be close to having a date at least. And now it's just everything was rightfully pushed back in terms of, you know, couldn't have an E3, so now we have to figure out what to do. But it seems like everything was put into scramble mode, and it just didn't work out the way that it could have. Sony was like weirdly benefited from E3 being canceled because they were never going to be there anyway. So they just put out what they were going to make anyway, and Xbox was kind of shit out of luck because they had to take this tight, well, probably I don't know what it was going to be, but they were going to take this like crafted in-person big screen, big auditorium conference and put it into one or two digital streamed online events. And it's tough because it can't be an E3 conference if it wasn't being planned for like an E3 conference, which these obviously weren't. With that being said, though, like I said, I thought it was a good conference. I thought the games they showed were mostly really good. I'm excited for a lot of them. Games that stood out, Fable, obviously I'm excited for. Halo, Forza, the big ones. Avowed looks really good. I'm really excited for Tetris Effect. I'm really excited for the Medium. I'm interested. My interest is piqued on Crossfire X's thing with Remedy. And then obviously Tell Me Why and As Dusk Falls are interesting, just at least in terms of what they look like right now. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited to see where it goes from here because we still don't have a date for either. We still don't have a price for either. And I think August is when we're going to get both of those. And I genuinely don't know what these prices are going to be at this point. I think I'm just expecting that the digital versions are going to be $500 and the physical with optical drive versions are going to be $600 for both of them. Who knows? It could be one could try to undercut the other. But like it could be either one doing that at this point, or they could match prices, or maybe they both try to undercut and they both go 400, 500. I think it's really interesting. And I think we're gearing up for a really, really interesting next few months in terms of game launches. Plus we have a big fall. We got Watch Dogs, we got Cyberpunk, we got Avengers, Halo, Spider-Man. So a lot of games coming out this fall. I'm really excited. But yeah, that's the Xbox Games Showcase recap for the NoochieCast. Thank you for listening. I'm glad you joined me. Glad you stuck it out. And I'll see you next time.